Cool afternoon, everybody. Good to be back. I always love the nice, fresh smell of cut grass. Football season is underway, and it's nothing better than when you start to be able to play real football, and we put the pads on. It's no longer just T-shirts and shorts. I would say, our first padded practice that we had Monday was probably one of, if not the most physical practices that we've had since I've been here. It's interesting because we're working with these Guardian caps, and so you typically don't hear the cracking of the helmets and the true physicality of it, but when you cut the tape on, there was a lot of violent hands, there was a lot of block destruction going on, some great blocks going on up front within the interior, defensive lineman, offensive lineman, so it was really good to see. And that's really what this camp is really all about, is building up that identity, playing that tough, physical, gritty football play style of what we're looking for, and we're heading in the right direction. Had a little bit of heat, which has been great for us, a little humid, a little hot, which requires a lot more communication, requires a lot of guys to be a lot more dialed in from a mental and physical standpoint, elite communication from a nonverbal and verbal standpoint. So it's been great for the guys to kind of feel that heat, because it's really been testing us in all aspects. With fatigue. Fatigue comes into play, and when guys get tired, they start to get lazy. When it starts coming to the communication, are you really getting it across to all 11 players are all on the same page? So when guys get tired, they're more focused on breathing than they are actually true communicating. So with that, you got to find ways to communicate non-verbally.
Hey, Matt, having several months to reflect on it and then also prepare for it, how are you feeling about the new kickoff rules?
I'm feeling great about the new kickoff. I think it's a great thing that the NFL is doing, trying to really, I'm all for innovation and creativity at the end of the day. That's kind of what the game needs. Not to say that the old kickoff kind of felt a little staunch, but it's good to have we're looking to try to introduce a new kickoff rule where, we increase the amount of plays from a special team standpoint, decrease the amount of concussions that does take place. How can we limit the high-speed collisions that happen? And, at the end of the day, it's going to give a lot more opportunities to a lot more guys. Maybe you might be able to put, some more starters out there just because you're eliminating the running phase of it. It's going to require a lot more creativity, scheming, schematically, coaching is going to be heavily involved in it. And so with that, it's a challenge, but all of us should really embrace the challenge, because that's all a part of it, just our growth.
How have the players embraced it so far?
It's an adjustment for sure, but they love the idea of it. They love the creativity behind it. They're really excited about it. I think the biggest thing is just trying to figure out what exactly is it going to look like. You have a good sense of it just kind of looking at the XFL tape, but it's a lot different when the kickoff team is starting from the 40 versus the 35 in the XFL, just because of that spacing and that distance is much more different. And you're talking about elite ball carriers in our league, having that space where the timing of it is going to be a lot faster. Being able to defeat blocks is going to be a premium in our league. And so with that, guys are excited about it. They're excited about what the schematics that come with it, the personnel that you have to provide for it. So with that, it's going to be good.
Some people have talked about a need for maybe tinkering it early on. Is there an aspect of it that you see could, a change happen, or that you desire a change to happen?
Yeah, I think it's for it to all be on paper at the moment. It all looks good in my eyes, and we'll see how the rules play out, especially when you start talking about post-snap penalties. Maybe you might get an unsportsmanlike after a touchdown. How is that going to be assessed? Maybe there's a roughing the kicker after an extra point. What is that going to look like? Kicking off from the 20 versus having to kick off from the 50. Some of those things I think will be something that'll be interesting to see how we want to really set the rules when we do get ready for the regular season.
There was a stat about in the XFL, the kicker got involved kind of a lot on the tackles. What is your feeling about how often the kicker is going to have to be kind of a defender there?
Yeah, for sure. That's a big one. And we did a study. The kicker does kind of get heavily involved just because things are happening a lot faster, just because of the ball blocker relationship that does take place on the play. And so, you have to find ways. There's a lot of different ways schematically and how you can really deviate and really kind of have your kicker stay out of it. I don't want to kind of get into depth with that, but there are ways for you to be able to kind of keep your kicker out of the play. But in the XFL, they were heavily involved, and it's a little scary, to be honest with you.
noticeably different across teams, or do you think eventually it's just going to?
Say again one time.
Do you think the play itself is going to look noticeably different across teams, or do you think over time it'll just kind of?
For sure, I believe that within the first 3 weeks, I think that this play is going to win and lose a lot of teams' games. Because eventually, this league does a great job of adapting and picking up, schematics, really truly what's going on. And, that's really what make us kind of elite is, being able to adapt and pick up on things. But I do see it being a heavily impact. It is going to look a lot different, especially for the fans. The first couple of games, it'll be an adjustment for sure. But once we kind of get into the groove of things and everybody kind of sees what's going on, what is everyone doing from a kickoff standpoint? What are the schematics from a KOR standpoint? People will really start to pick up on it. It might start kind of look same a little bit with a couple of tweaks here and there.
What are you thinking return-wise right now as far as who the returners would be? And are you definitely two, or do you think there'll be times when you would have one?
Yeah, for sure. It'll be dependent on really who are we playing against, what are their tendencies are in terms of kick direction, what type of ball are they kicking, do we have a beat on where the ball is actually being kicked? If we don't, then maybe we need to put two back there. The consensus around the league is that that is going to require two returners back there, just because kickers have the ability to place it wherever they want to, whether it's a fastball, a squib ball, a knuckleball, a high ball. And so, you really want to, the biggest thing is getting the football back. That's the priority, is getting the football back. So, ideally you want to be able to make sure you can assure that, so that might require you to have two people back there.
Who are you thinking personnel-wise here that fits that mold?
Obviously we have Kane, Brandon Powell is an option. We have a couple other guys. I don't want to kind of get into that too much, Kev, but we have a lot of elite ball carriers back there who's well capable. And, the thing is that because the kickoff rule has changed, it's really also changed who you want to put back there, just because of the ability of, from a schematic standpoint, what you're able to do with those guys and how fast really blocks actually occur, the vision, the speed, your ability to set up returns. And so with that, there's certain characteristics that you really like and you really, really appreciate out of some guys who you might not appreciate as much when from the old kickoff rule.
Coach, with making a decision at kicker, just what has impressed you overall with Will, and then how does it, impact him to be able to just focus on all the reps now?
Yeah, that was an unfortunate situation. We really, really wanted to continue to see John Parker Romo. I thought he was doing a great job, and Will did too, because when he first came in here, he understood to know what he was up against. Like, to get the job wasn't going to just be given to him because he was a draft pick. He truly wanted to earn the right of his teammates, the respect of his teammates, and win the job. And we got to a point, obviously, where there were some roster changes that need to happen, and as a result, we kind of had to make that move. But Will has done an unbelievable job since he's gotten here. You all kind of got a good look of what he's capable of doing, and he's steady Eddie. He's a guy that he's really maintains a good neutral mindset, and you truly never know when he's in a good mood or when he's in a bad mood. He can go perfect on a day and he's still just even keel, and it's like, that was a good day, and he'll tell you like, on a scale of 1 to 10, that was a 5. And it's like, damn, you went perfect, and he hit every ball and went all the way back to 60. And he's like, nah, that wasn't good enough. And so he has expectations, and he has high standards for himself, and that's really what you appreciate. And we've gone into discussion now that he is our kicker on, what season goals look like and what training camp goals look like. And I have an idea of what it looks like, and he's kind of telling me like that's not good enough. And I appreciate that. I really appreciate the edginess that he has, and the mindset that he has, and that's the reason why we drafted him, because of that mindset.
With Will, with the new kickoff rule, are you working at all on technique, just as far as the potential differences?
Yeah, absolutely. You look at, there's so many different situations that come up in the game. At the end of game situations, do we want to put into play? What type of ball do we hit? So we've been throwing out a lot of different, variations of kicks, just kind of throw them off guard, depending on what it is, directionally hitting it one way, hitting hot balls, mixing it up. And so there's a lot of different variations of kicks that we've been working through, just in case, there's, any situation does occur and the head man's like, hey, I want this type of ball. We need to make sure that we're well prepared for that.
Matt, how do you handle it in the preseason in terms of trying to get reps on those things versus not showing your hand?
Yeah,
at all?
that's always an interesting thing, man. In terms of what do you want to show in the preseason. Obviously the good thing about it is that now that we've shrunk the field in terms of how much running is involved, we're able to work as much as we need to in practice, and so it might not be a need to actually show, what we're actually going to do when the season rolls around from a preseason standpoint. So, maybe we might show some things, maybe we might not. We're still kind of working through, if we really truly want to show our hand, before week 1.
Matt, do you have any non-kickers who have raised their hands and said they're happy to kick?
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, we have a couple guys on the roster who does have the ability to kick, and we've been kind of working through that. It's just you just got to be a little careful and tread lightly with that, just in terms of because these position players, they don't truly know like what a kicking warm up looks like per se. They might just finish practice and think like, all right. I've been running around all practice. I can go, my legs feel good. I can go, try to go hit a 50-yard, 60-yard kickoff. But you got to be a little bit careful with that. They got to understand, though, like the groins, a lot of soft tissue injuries occur. So there's a proper way to warm up, and there's a proper way to go about kind of doing that. So we just got to be careful with who we put out there and make sure we're working in the right way. The last thing we want is for, running back to dang tears growing because he's trying to work on kickoffs post-practice. That'll get me fired.
Is that a serious thing that you're taking seriously, or just something that people
Yeah,
want
for
to
sure.
do?
For sure. If we can find a guy who can consistently put it in play or put it in the end zone or put it within the landing zone, we'll definitely do that because it's an advantage, right? It's an advantage. Obviously, they aren't allowed to go beyond the 50-yard line until the ball is caught or hit the ground, but if you do add a guy in there who is unaccounted from a KOR standpoint and he's a free hitter, you'll want to do that.
Now, when you talk about skill sets and attributes that change a little bit here, does straight line speed become a little less of a factor in your returners because
to a
of all of
degree it does, yes, but there's still enough spacing to where a guy is able to work an edge, get a guy stacked, and still be able to use his speed to his advantage, especially considering, the personnel out there. Will it be bigger guys out there who might not have great lateral feet or great lateral agility to be able to keep up with some of these speed guys? So, there's a little bit of a back and forth in terms of, now does it really nullify and void guys who are big-time speed players or, lighter bodies out there? It just kind of depends on schematically how you divvy it up and, where you place those guys at.
How does this change scouting for you, just looking at what opposing special teams units are going to do from week to week?
Yeah, I think that's a good question. I personally think that the personnel is gonna stay somewhat the same. It just might be you might have your starting linebacker out there now or your starting safety, not necessarily at that safety position, and maybe more of as a true penetrating guy. But I think that the personnel is somewhat stay the same right there, just in terms of you only get 53 people and 48 people dressed, and so you got to utilize what you got. I don't think it'll change much, but from a scouting standpoint, it'll be interesting. You definitely got to be very, very attentive to the detail and do a great job of identifying, certain guys, where they line up at, how are they truly using this guy? Are they trying to hide him as a safety? And kind of those aspects of the game.
Matt, Theo Jackson has really carved out himself a role on the defense. What have you seen from his development over the last couple of years since you guys picked him up and then he was able to
Theo Jackson has done nothing but he's an ascendant player in this league, and what you love the most about, I always talk about, there's two things when it comes to special teams players that I really look at, and it's versatility and courage. And Theo Jackson has exactly those two attributes that you look for. He's versatile. You can match him up on safeties, running backs, linebackers, receivers, right? And so with that ability, it gives you the access to do any and everything with this guy. Again, he's an ascendant player. He's just a flat-out football player, and that's what you appreciate. He's smart. He's instinctive. He does, if he does anything incorrect, it's a one quick fix, and he doesn't make that same mistake again. And the biggest thing is he's inconsistent. He shows up every day. He works hard. He's got unbelievable respect from his teammates. He's attentive to the details. He's very intentional about his work. Every single day he comes out and he has a goal of what he wants to do and how he's going to go about doing it. And, he's truly setting himself up to be a true leader of this team and a valuable asset for us.
Matt, with one of the appeals of the changes being increasing player safety. Have there been instances in your career, either from players or coaches, of them voicing a desire for the game to be safer?
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. It's so funny, myself back when I was playing, I was a hard hitter, and I look at the game now on the sidelines, and I'm like, dang, this is a violent game that we're playing, violent game. And so you look at it, the Guardian caps being added, I think is a huge bonus. It doesn't, for the swag of it's not a good look from a swag standpoint, but it protects players, right? It protects players, and so I'm appreciative of that. I'm appreciative of them switching the kickoff rule to try to reduce concussions and limit the high-speed collision that does take place. And so the NFL, obviously with it being the most popular sport in the world, you want to find ways to keep players healthy, right? Keep players healthy. That's the biggest goal at the end of the day. And so, I'm really appreciative of the rule changes that's taking place, and of really trying to emphasize player safety. And there are guys that come to us with concern of how can we make the game safer. Cool. Appreciate y'all.